The portages, 6, 8 miles of rocks with 2 fur packs the weight of a cow. Then back to the canoe, and more packs of one of the cursed kettles. Finally, the canoe. You would not believe the enormous loads some of those men carried. One is said to have carried 500 weight each trip from early morning until darkness.
Carrying one of the detested kettles, said Trépanier, his right knee gave way. The injury plagued him still.
However, the fur company, with the rights the king assigned them, made me a seigneur and charged me to gather habitants and populate New France. This is the beginning of a great new city in the wilderness.
René asked a question that had bothered him since the first trek through the woods.
Why do we cut the forest when there are so many fine clearings? Why wouldn't a man build his house in a clearing? One of those meadows that we passed when we walked here. Would it not be easier?
But Monsieur Trépanier was scandalized.
Easier? Yes, easier, but we are here to clear the forest, to subdue this evil wilderness.
He was silent for a minute, thinking, then started in again.
Moreover, here in New France there is a special way of apportioning property. Strips of land that run from a river to the forest give each settler fertile farm soil, high ground safe from floods, and forest trees for timber, fuel, and mushrooms. It is an equitable arrangement, not possible with clearings taken up willy-nilly, bon gré, mal gré.
René hoped this was the end of the lecture, but the man went on.
Men must change this land in order to live in it. In olden times, men lived like beasts. In those ancient days, men had claws and long teeth, nor could they speak, but only growled.
He made a sound to show how they growled. René, chopping trees, felt not the act, but the pure motion. The raised axe, the gathering tension in arms and shoulders, buttocks and thighs, the hips pivoting, knees loose and flexed, and then the swing downward as abstract as the shadow of a stone, a kind of forest dance. He had bound a rock to the pole with babiche to counterbalance the heavy bit. It increased the accuracy of each stroke. Monsieur Trépanier launched into a droning sermon on the necessity, the duty of removing the trees, of opening land not just for oneself, but for posterity, for what this place would become.
Some day, Monsieur Trépanier said, pointing into the gloom, some day men will grow cabbages here. To be a man is to clear the forest. I don't see the trees, he said. I see the cabbages. I see the vineyards.
Monsieur Trépanier said his uncle Jean Trépanier, dit chamailleur for his disputatious nature, Chama for short, would take Duquet's place. He was old but strong, stronger than Duquet. He would arrive soon. Monsieur Trépanier's brothers would also come. Eventually. And he said the time for felling trees was now over. The bébites were at their worst, the wet heat dangerous, the trees too full of sap. Indeed, the hellish swarms of biting insects were with them day and night.
Winter is the correct time to cut the forest. Today is the time for removing stumps and burning.
It was also the time, he added, for René to begin to fulfill his other duties.
For 3 days a week your labor is mine. As part of your work, said Monsieur Trépanier, you are to supply my table with fish.
The more immediate work involved preparing the gardens for Marie. The oxen, Roi and René, pulled Monsieur Trépanier's old plough sullenly. A savage fly with a green head battened on their blood. Monsieur Trépanier smeared the animals with river clay, which hardened into dusty clots, but could do nothing about the clustering gnats. But Marie, the Indian woman, steeped tamarack bark in spring water and twice daily sluiced their burning eyes. In the long afternoons, with many sighs, she planted the